Hey guys, we're going to break down the Ohio State-Penn State game. We're going to give you our thoughts on this Ohio State defense and a guy by the name of Chase Young. We're also going to break down the college football landscape and where we see Ohio State, the Kelly Bryant situation there at Clemson, the Jimbo Fisher deal there at Texas A&M. Also going to break down the Earl Thomas injury and the Le'Veon Bell contract situation and NFL officials. So, please listen up. So, welcome to the Beanie and Boom, more than an athlete, whatever the hell you want to call it. We don't have a name for it right now, but the podcast and what we're going to bring you on a weekly basis, maybe more than once a week. It's stories about, what's going on in college football, what's going on in the NFL, and hell, man, what's going on in our personal lives and some of our experiences that we had while playing this game. And obviously, the goal is to, be raw, uncut, unfiltered, and have guests on a weekly basis. Guys that have played, players, coaches, agents, financial advisors,
all of the above.
All of the above. Guys that can give you a different perspective that you necessarily don't get by looking at ESPN or looking at the internet.
Straight raw
beneath the helmet. So boom, man, give the people a little bit about what you've been doing lately.
Hey, Beanie, first off, I want to say, man, your intro was crazy, bro. That was pretty cool, man. But just a little about what I got going on, man. So I got into the trucking game. I leased a couple trucks on with a trucking company from back home. So I've been doing that. And then I also invested in Hadley's down here off 4th Street, 260 South Street, downtown
nice
Columbus. Nice place. Got great brunch, great food. So just still trying to figure it all out, but that's what I got going on right now.
Got you. Now, obviously, we know who you. I know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You played with me at Ohio State.
Sure
was
did.
my backup a couple of years. Then obviously, took over the reins and had a hell of a career here. You went through your bit of turmoil here with tattoo gating,
Man, you wanna go there, man.
all the extracurriculars. But I mean, none of the above. Obviously, you still watch this football team on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
We had our turmoil at the beginning of the year. We're watching a young quarterback look phenomenal
Absolutely.
right now through the first 5 games of the season.
I agree.
Man, give us your take on this team right now, man. Let me know what you're thinking about, the young running backs, J.K., Mike Weber, and just all the playmakers that we have right now.
Oh, man, I think we got a ton of talent on offense and also defense. But, with the quarterback, man, he's doing a great job of leading his team right now. And Haskins he does some great things, He brings a different, I think, swagger game plan to, from what we were used to with JT. And we used to get a lot of, crossing routes and a lot of different, things like that. But with Haskins, we're going down the field, we're going deep. Obviously, it's been a little different the last couple of weeks, but the first couple of games, I think he did a great job of getting the ball down the field. And then when you have 2 great running backs like Dobbins and another guy, it's just great, man. I mean, for them to just feed off each other and make big plays. And what I like is from Dobbins and Weber, they keep whatever guy is hot at the time. I like when they keep them going in like that. I know there's been a couple of times when me and you were in there, you know what I'm saying? You would get hot, I get hot. If I got hot, they was pulling me because you was going back in, and
Hated that shit.
Right. And it probably was the same thing when it was you and Pitt. So you know how it is, man. But I think we got a good thing going. If we could just keep our focus and keep playing Ohio State football, man. I mean, down the road, the schedule, I don't see anybody that's a real threat right now, honestly. And obviously you have, Michigan State. Obviously, Michigan game is always going to be a big game. But, when you look at guys like, Minnesota, Indiana, the next couple games, we should dominate those next couple games.
And that's the thing, man. When you look at the schedule through and through the rest of the way, there's nobody that, we're going to be contested with. Even when you look at Michigan, you look at how Michigan has played and really what they've been since Harbaugh have gotten there. Man, they haven't been a team to really scare you. Yes, they've given us games.
Yeah. It's always going to be a game because it's the rivalry game.
Right, but it's nothing that you just sit there and say, you know what, I'm worried.
Right.
I'm overly concerned about Michigan and what they're going to be able to do.
Exactly.
I like this team, man. I do. On the offensive end, I think I almost, put people in an uproar with what I said a couple of weeks ago. And obviously, you and I are in a group message with our other boys,
right.
Robo and Lawrence, who both play with us at Ohio State. And I said I thought personally that Dwayne Haskins, what he had showed me through the first 4 games, he could potentially be the best quarterback to ever come to Ohio State. And obviously, he hadn't had the big games.
What you said was he was better than Troy.
Exactly.
That was the argument.
So, and what I was really getting to when I said that was, I'm looking at the fact that, he has all the mechanics. He has all the intangibles to be a better quarterback than Troy. Now, I said I got to see it in bigger games.
I agree.
This past week versus Penn State was a big game. He didn't play, over the moon well, but obviously, they threw a lot of pressures at him, something that he hadn't seen. And I think
that's what I was going to say. I think they definitely blitzed a lot, more than they were blitzing a ton. But I think he kept his composure. Obviously, he was a little rattled.
That was the one thing I was surprised about, how cool and calm he was under pressure the entire game.
Exactly. I agree with that. Like you said, in the first half, he was a little rattled, but we kind of figured it out, when halftime, change the game plan around a little bit, got a couple screens, got a couple bubbles. I mean, he took care of his job when it was time for him to do it.
And that's something that, I really was kind of surprised about that. We really wasn't attacking those screens. We wasn't attacking those bubbles earlier in the game. And it looked so much different than the past 4 games. It really made me question, okay, did Urban Meyer step back in and start back calling these plays? He said he was going to take a back seat, but when you was watching the plays kind of develop, and the pace was not the same whatsoever in what we seen the first couple of games, it was like,
absolutely,
who's really calling the show right here? I mean, obviously it's his team. He's the head coach, but, I mean, he just told us on countless occasions that he was taking the back seat because we went out and played phenomenally under Ryan Day.
Well, you know what? It was definitely, I think, me personally, I think it was a difference since Urban's been, back coaching. I think, when he wasn't around, we were going down the field more. I think now we're back to kind of doing the, take the running back and let him go and motion out and throw a little pass. I hate that play. I don't know why we run that play, but I think there is a difference. But hey, we're still winning. So I mean, hey, what can you say?
Yeah, that's the one thing when you look at it. I mean, if you're winning games at Ohio State and you winning the tough games, in which obviously the Penn State game was a tough game.
Tough game.
I mean,
on the road too.
On the road.
On the road.
Tough environment. Obviously, we both played there. We know how hard it is to not really get up for it, but just to play in that stadium, to hear plays, to get plays in and out of the huddle.
Absolutely.
I mean, that shit is tough. I mean, it's not an easy place to go in there and to come out with a victory, especially when things were going the way that they were going in that game. I mean, you got Trace McSorley, who, honestly, in my opinion, I didn't know he was that good. In that game, he looked every bit as good as a player that can go out and win the Heisman Trophy in that game.
Man, you know what? He had a little wiggle. I'm like, man, is this the same quarterback? I mean, obviously, guys are going to bring a little extra when they play against Ohio State. You know that, Beanie. So they're gonna try different things, but I mean, he, like you said, he absolutely looked great. In the first half, even in the second half, he had a couple big plays, and I'm just glad that we got the win, man.
I mean, I was just surprised at the fact that we weren't able to kind of get a guy on him the entire game that kind of stick with him. I mean, obviously we ran some quarterback spies there in the second half. We picked up, but it was times, man, where he was dropping back, and you just watched the whole middle of the field open up. Like, what the hell is going on? He's about to run.
You think he have a spy or something.
Exactly. He was going to run for at least 10 to 15 yards on those plays.
Exactly.
And he was able to explore this for, 175 yards. And I think that's one of the things that honestly concerns me with this team is the defense. When you look at the defense and you look at every game, there's been big plays given up.
Absolutely.
We can't afford to have one of those lows to where, we're going to take a quarter off of a game on the defensive end. Obviously, our offense can keep up and score with anybody in the country, but on the defensive end, I mean, that was a game that we almost gave away. And fortunately enough, James Franklin made the wrong call and gave the game back to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, man. The first couple games, you just look back and see some of the big plays. The TCU, I think it was almost a 90-some yard run. A couple other games, running back had over almost 200 yards. I mean, it's just some games you look back and you say, it's early in the season. Yeah, I get it. Well, not early in the season, but we have to figure it out. We have to figure it out. Now that we're in Big Ten play, a lot of guys are going to try to run the football, and we have to figure out a way to stop all these big time runs and these big time plays. And I'm sure we're going to figure it out. That's what we do at Ohio State. They will figure it out, and if the guy has a job right now is not doing the job, they will get another guy in there. And you know how it is, Beanie. I mean, got to get the job done.
Man, I certainly hope so, man, because obviously the linebackers played a little bit better. They could have been even more better. They definitely weren't how they were versus Tulane. I don't know if you heard the stat. Versus Tulane, the starting linebackers didn't register a single tackle.
Wow.
That's something that I had never heard of. I'm sitting there with Coach Coop.
The legendary Ohio State linebackers, and you have one tackle? Are you kidding me?
I'm sitting with Coach Coop. As we're getting ready to do the show, Dave Holmes reads off, that stat line to us, and we both look at each other like, man, this has to be a joke or some miscue on the stat sheet. We couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Especially when you go out and recruit the talent that we have.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. At Ohio State, the legendary linebackers that we've had, and man, come on now.
Should not happen whatsoever in any game. And, one of the guys that I obviously, have an affinity towards because he's a hometown kid, grew up in Akron, Ohio. The guy has been here forever. I want to say he's the only predominantly defensive player to win Mr. Football in the state of Ohio, and that's Dante Booker. I can't understand for the life of me why he isn't playing. Especially when you watch our linebackers not be able to fill gaps, not be physical in between the tackles at the point of contact at times, and you got a guy who was a physical specimen coming in here, and he's one of those guys that works hard on a regular basis, is a good kid, and he has the athletic ability to be able to produce. That's one of the question marks that I have with his defense. I mean, why aren't certain guys being out there playing that has the ability to be able to help this D?
Well, it could be a million things that can be going on behind doors. We're not sure. I mean, who knows what's going on? Like you say, he's a great talent. He does a lot of great things. We've heard that he works hard, and we know he could play. So why the reason why he's not playing, we don't know. But we need to figure it out so we can let people know.
You know what a coach told me one day?
Tell me that.
He said, no matter what you got going on in your personal life, and this is an old school coach, mind you.
Yeah.
No matter what you got going on in your personal life, no matter what this kid is doing off the field, I don't care if the guy is robbing banks.
If he making plays, put him on the field.
Exactly. Exactly. That's something that this coach is in the College Football Hall of Fame, mind you.
Right.
I'm not going to say his name on air, but this is something that he said to me. If a guy is good enough, he's going to be on the field.
Well, that's why I said it has to be something going on. But like you said, you got to play the kid. I mean, if we got our linebackers out there and they're not making one tackle, that is ridiculous. Yeah. Like, come on, man. We got to make some changes. And, I mean, I think that plays a big part on why we have had some big plays, made on us, and got to make some changes.
Yeah, I mean,
got to figure it out.
Man, I think the coaching staff will, though. Man, I like Bill Davis. Billy D was he was the DC when I was out in Arizona.
Okay.
Cool dude, cooler than the fans, so smooth.
Yeah.
And I think he can motivate that linebacking core. But and Greg Schiano, obviously, I think he does a phenomenal job. And from a schematic standpoint, it's just a matter of getting those guys to kind of, learn to play within this new system.
Yeah.
Another one of the guys that I was pleasantly surprised by on this team, not just in the game versus Penn State. The dude had a hell of a game versus Penn State, but I've been surprised by him all year long. Chase Young.
Oh, man, I knew you was going to say that name. I mean, the guy is an animal out there. The guy has I think it's crazy. I think with our defense, obviously, we've heard all our lives being everything starts up front. You have to have a dominant offensive line. You have to have a dominant defensive line. I think with us having the guys that we have up front, I think they've done a great job. With us missing Bosa this week, we had to have some guys step up. We had some guys step up, but Chase Young just kind of just dominated the game where he had to take over the game because when you don't have Bosa on the other side, somebody has to step up and be that guy.
And that's, an important piece to the puzzle. You lose a guy like Nick Bosa. He's probably going to be a top 3 pick this year coming out of the draft.
Absolutely.
But when you watch a guy like Chase Young be able to step in and make those same plays that Nick Bosa would make, and I'll automatically say when Nick Bosa's in there, he's an instant 7 points for our offense in terms of he's going to cause bad field position for that defense and force a turnover or force a turnover, be it a fumble or, a deflected pass. Now that's how I'm starting to view a Chase Young, especially the way that he played. The guy has the ability, and with him just putting it together versus Penn State in a big game, tough environment. That shit was impressive to me, man.
Yeah,
it certainly was.
I agree.
So I got to ask this question. We talk about the concerns that we have on the defensive end. We love our offense and what our potential is and what we could potentially do and become. I mean, where do you think Ohio State belongs in the rankings right now? I mean, you think we are deserving of the top 3 position with how we've played on defense?
Honestly, I think so, Beanie. I think we do deserve to be in the top 3. I mean, we have 2 big wins on the road. You have to look at that. Regardless of who we play, you look at who Alabama has played. They haven't really played anybody yet. That's a real threat. You look at Clemson. They are just I don't know. They are super suspect to me. I think they're going to be beat. And then you look at guys like Georgia, which is they're gonna play in a hard conference where I think they're going to lose a game or 2, maybe come up in their next couple of games. But I think Ohio State definitely deserves to be in the top top 4, top 3 choices for sure.
Yeah, man, I agree too. I mean, initially I had to sit back and think about it. Obviously, you think about Clemson. You look at Georgia and who they are. And what they've been last year, and obviously, knowing that they had a lot of guys returning. Alabama's Alabama. I mean, every year they're going to be up there in the upper echelon of teams. But going back to Clemson, I mean, you look at the situation there. Who's the quarterback that they have? I believe his last name is Lawrence, the young kid that they decided to make their starting quarterback. Mm-hmm. They eternally bench Kelly Bryant, a guy that took him to the college football playoff and said, you know what? I see a young guy that has the potential to be very good. I'm going to give him the reins now. Do you believe that was the right move? And do you fault Kelly Bryant for saying, you know what, man, the hell with this. I just took y'all to a college football playoff. I'm about to get out of here.
Hey, I'm not mad at Bryant at all. I mean, like you said, he took those guys to the playoffs. He won some big-time games for those guys. And for them to let a freshman, as a freshman, right?
Right.
A freshman come in and just take his job is ridiculous. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's ridiculous because we've seen it before, Beanie. I look at this situation kind of the same as when Todd was playing at USC and Terrell came in. Next thing you know, Terrell starting the rest of the year. It's kind of same kind of similar situation, not the same situation, but we've seen it happen. So did the coach make the right decision? We will find out in the upcoming weeks.
I'm gonna call a spade a spade. When we made it. I love Coach Trust to death, but when we made that decision to go with TP over Todd, that shit changed the whole landscape of our season that year.
Absolutely.
From the continuity that we had on the offense with our receivers to me, obviously, I had to adjust and get used to playing in the spread type of system, which I wasn't doing here at Ohio State.
Absolutely.
I mean, maybe I did a little bit my freshman year when we had Troy as a quarterback, but the next year we was always in a pro style.
Even though Troy was still like a pro style quarterback, when Terrell came, it was a big difference. Like you said, a lot of things changed. You start doing a lot of spread. Back in the day, Beanie, you already know. You come to Ohio State, we running the ball first.
No question.
We running the ball first. We in the I formation. We running power. We running counter. Like, we downhill, and we gonna stop y'all till y'all can't stop us no more. And if y'all stop us, we gonna do it again, and we gonna make it happen, figure it out. But that situation, that's the first thing I thought about when I seen it, and I guess we're gonna have to see with the upcoming weeks if he made the right decision or not.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna have to live with it. I don't think Kelly Bryant's gonna be in a situation where he's thinking about, you know what, maybe I shouldn't transfer and go back and play with these guys all of a sudden because Trevor Lawrence got hurt. I mean, that's a decision that Dabo Swinney made, and obviously he's going to have to ride with. I can't see Kelly Bryant, turning on that. And then you heard people all over the college football world saying Kelly Bryant turned his back on his team by saying that he was going to transfer and leave.
Come on, Beans, you know how it is, man. That's fans, that's the media.
I don't get that though.
That's just how that's how it works, man.
But it's the dumbest.
It's not fair.
It's the dumbest thing in the world. I mean, I get if it's a guy that I lose my job because a guy he's legit better than me,
right? And
I need to be here to support. And I'm about to, maybe graduate the nigga. But Kelly Bryant has another opportunity to play. He'll get another chance somewhere else. And he's saying, you know what, I want to maximize my opportunity to get to the National Football League. It's not like he's just one of those cupcake quarterbacks. Right. If it was a guy that wasn't going anywhere, you'd understand that a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But on this end, I mean, this is a guy that wants to play football.
Well, the thing is, he showed what he's what he can do. I mean, he's played in some big games, had some big stats,
some big
moments. So we know the guy can play. Now this freshman that we have, what's the guy's name?
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence. I mean, they haven't played anybody. And they almost lost to a very average.
Right. So, but Lawrence gets knocked out of the game in that situation. They're to the third team quarterback essentially, but still, nonetheless, they almost lose to Syracuse.
Yeah,
it's like, come on,
man, and we all know. Come on now, you shouldn't be losing to Syracuse when you're Clemson, a top 4 team in the nation. That should be one of those games where, you know, Beanie, like we used to call it stat game.
Right.
You know, it's a stat game. That's just what it is.
And so bottom line here, I mean, I'm glad you agree with me that neither one of us fought Kelly Bryant for saying, you know what, I'm chucking the deuces at Clemson because of this decision that y'all make. And then people on the outside always say he's a selfish guy. He's worried about me. Well, what about the coaches? When they all of a sudden get a higher dollar contract and they jump ship and they leave the program high and dry.
Hey, Beanie, don't forget that their money is guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
You know, I look at a situation where some of these coaches, they were one place, they got a contract, it's guaranteed, and then they go to another team and they're getting paid by both teams. So, I mean, and a player has to sit out and he has no chance to make no money, no nothing, don't get an opportunity. It's just not fair. It's not fair to student athletes, and it's just crazy.
It's a wild deal. Boom. Charlie Weiss. You know Charlie Weiss.
Oh, absolutely.
Was the offensive coordinator, started off at the New England Patriots.
Yep.
Gets a head coaching job, goes to Notre Dame, goes to Kansas. He hadn't coached football in at least college football in at least 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
He's still getting paid.
Still getting
paid by the NCAA.
Still getting paid.
And you mean to sit here and tell me that they don't have enough money? This is a whole nother conversation.
Yeah,
they don't got enough money to kind of compensate the guys who are actually putting on the product. That's a whole nother convo. Now we're at the fact that, you know, Kelly Bryant is transferring, people are calling him wrong.
Yeah.
But, like, come on, man.
It is the world we live in, the sports world, man. It's just not fair to the, you know, student athletes.
And then, I mean, this one takes the cake. I know you've seen the Jimbo Fisher situation to where he's grabbing the player by the face mask, shaking him.
Hey,
was that too much?
Absolutely. I mean, as a grown man, I don't care, man. I mean, like, it couldn't have been a great player. It couldn't have been a starter or nothing. Because I mean, just by a reaction as a man, you're gonna react. Which is, I think that guy did a great job of not reacting.
Right.
But for the coach just to react and handle the situation how he did, I'm not sure what the kid did in the situation. But for the way he handled it, that was just unbelievable.
And then you got all these older football players, and obviously we played football. I mean, it's been 10 years since, you know, we've been in college.
Yeah.
So you got people older than us saying that's the way that the coach used to do it. So that don't make it right. That's just like now.
Right.
Boom, I can't go out and whoop my kid the way that I used to get whooped.
Exactly.
I mean, that's considered child abuse.
Oh,
I mean,
what? You
the
going
way
to
that I used to
jail.
get whipped growing up.
You going to jail.
Exactly. So that doesn't make it right. And you got all these people saying that, yeah, man, that's just how coaches was. These kids need to be a little bit tougher. No.
Nah.
You can pay a lot of money to coach kids, not to abuse them.
Exactly.
I mean, come on, man. I mean, you remember the situation with Mike Leach at Texas Tech to where he was, locking a kid in a shed and making him stay there in the heat. And it come to find out the kid ended up being Craig James' son that works for ESPN, and that was a part of the Pony Express there at SMU.
Unbelievable.
I mean, come on, man. You guys are getting paid a lot of money as coaches to lead young men, not to shake them by the face mask. You can motivate without putting your hands on somebody.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a bunch of coaches that, I mean, Urban Meyer is probably one of them that will cuss you out, you know, from here to the Woody Hayes hitter.
See, that's a difference. That's the difference. You can cuss me out. You can say whatever you got to say. You can almost be disrespectful. But at the same time, if you're putting your hands on a person, man, that's just a whole nother level, man.
And imagine if that young kid, that football player,
would have reacted.
Or imagine if he was doing the same thing to another player on the team. Now he's a selfish kid. He's a cancer in the locker room.
Exactly.
We can't have this kid on our football team.
Exactly.
Like, come on. I mean, I understand, obviously, in certain things, there's a pecking order, but, I mean, this is one of those things that there should not be a double standard. I mean, you got to hold Jimbo Fisher accountable. I think he's a great coach, but some stuff you can't be doing. And grabbing a kid by the face mask and yanking him and, you know, embarrassing him essentially, I mean, that's one of the things that I don't agree with at all.
Hey, imagine Coach Tress doing that to you. Well, obviously, I can't even imagine it because we know Tress not even that type of guy.
Right.
But just imagine what your boys is saying back home to you, like, man, you just gonna let that coach just do that to you like that? Like, you ain't want to react? Like, what do you think, Beans? Like, how would your family react if any coach, at any level, high school, college, pro, whatever, how would your family react to that?
I know you remember the P. Diddy situation. P. Diddy was at his son's practice at UCLA.
Yep.
The coach was degrading his son, calling him all types of names.
Mm-hmm.
What did P. Diddy do? P. Diddy grabbed a dumbbell, ran up on the coach, and said, "You better not ever disrespect my son," and almost jumped down the coach's throat. Now, obviously, that's P. Diddy.
Hey, he was wrong for that.
No, I mean, I'm probably going to be the same way with my kid. I mean, you can yell at my kid, but don't put your hands on him.
Yeah.
Don't degrade him to the point to where he feels like less than, all in the name of being a tough football coach.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. There's certain lines that obviously that shouldn't be crossed in those
I
situations.
Agree.
So, I mean, how would my family react? I mean, they would probably react like P. Diddy in that situation, especially my dad in that situation.
Exactly.
Yeah. You and I are both from Northeast Ohio. I don't know about you. I've been a Browns fan, hell, since I can remember. Browns broke my heart when they decided to leave, and I want to say I was probably about 10 years old at that point in time when they decided to leave and go to Baltimore. They go to Baltimore. They win a Super Bowl within a couple of years of going to Baltimore. It was the most devastating thing in the world as a young kid being from Northeast Ohio. Then obviously all of the anguish, the disappointment, the terrible years that we've experienced as Cleveland Browns fans up until this point.
Right. It's a funny stat. I was talking to some people the other day, and they said, "Well, we kind of got a half of a Super Bowl from when they left and they came back." I said, "Are you kidding me? That's just how bad it is in Cleveland.
You're taking the claim to anything.
They taking the claim of anything. They said a half of a Super Bowl because." Man, it's just unreal.
But what I was getting to was now we have this football team to where it looks like we finally have a quarterback that can potentially lead us to I'm not going to say promised land, lead us in the right direction. Promised land is a big word because we're talking about a Super Bowl, conference championships and so on and so forth. But lead us in the right direction. And the right direction for me is winning multiple games in a season because it's been several years since that's been the case for Cleveland. Obviously, we kick it off a couple of weeks ago and we get the big victory. And everybody, was through the roof and over the moon.
I mean, do you blame them?
No, not at all. It was like the Super Bowl when you watched the end of that football game and you watched all the people outside the stadium. It was like they had.
You win a game, you get free beer. The town was going crazy, man. It was a very exciting time for Cleveland and the Browns. To get their first win, I think since 2014, was it 15?
It was 2015.
15? Yeah, 2015. That just shows you how much.
No, it was 16. They got to win in 16. Johnny Manziel, I think it was the last quarterback to get a win.
Okay.
Was it Johnny Manziel or was it RG3? One of the two.
RG3. It was RG3.
One of the two was.
It was RG3. But it's sad that we can't even remember the last time that we won a game. It's just sad. But yeah.
I mean, so what? When you look at the Browns now, is there one? Are you a Browns fan?
I support the Browns, baby.
I mean, I know you grew up here in Warren, and I know Warren is kind of split with Browns fans and Pittsburgh Steelers fans.
I hate Pittsburgh. Shout out to all the Buckeyes there. All of that. But I've been a guy. I've never been a fan of the Steelers, especially just from being from Northeast Ohio. I always looked at it like this, man. I look at people who are Steelers fans that are from Ohio or Northeast Ohio, definitely. I feel like if they like the Steelers, then they like Michigan, and which means in my hometown,
right? There's a lot of them.
There are a lot of Michigan people because we had a lot of we had a little pipeline going up there for a minute, but I'm glad that got changed. But am I a Browns fan? I definitely support the Browns. Growing up as a kid, I was a Dallas Cowboys fan because Emmitt Smith was one of my favorite running backs as a kid, and as a kid, you're gonna root for the best team. They had Troy Aikman, Deion Sanders.
I mean, they had an all-star team.
They had an all-star team, yeah. So as a kid, it's just like my little nephew. He's a diehard Warriors fan, and we hate it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's
that's
just
what
like
he knows too.
Exactly. That's what he knows. He's 6 years old, so he sees this team that's winning all these games, and Stephen Curry this, Stephen Curry that. He's wearing Under Armours. I mean, freaking Under Armours. I mean, kids are wearing Under Armour now. Like, when did that start?
Right.
Like so. But overall, I support the Browns. Obviously because I'm from Northeast Ohio.
Well, I mean, like I said, I'm a Browns fan, and you support the Browns. I mean, what direction do you think? You played under Hugh Jackson too. That's another good thing. You played under Hugh Jackson. What direction do you think he was taking the Browns in?
Oh man, I think they got a long way to go with Hugh Jackson.
Do you?
Being the head coach? I'm not a fan. Obviously,
Hey,
we said we was gonna shoot it straight here.
Straight up.
I'm not a huge fan of Hugh Jackson, and I think he has a pretty good staff behind him. But overall, I'm not a fan. And do I see the Browns being becoming a better team right now? Obviously, I mean, if you watch the Raiders game, and I'll sit here and say honestly, I was watching and we were up 14 points, and I stopped watching because
thought they won.
We were rolling. The offense was moving the ball. I mean, we were doing good. Man, I come back home to check on some scores. I see we done lost by 3 points. I say only the Browns. Only the Cleveland Browns can figure out a way. I think somebody even said we were up by 9 or 8 points with a minute and a half left in the game, and they figured out a way to lose. Like, it's just crazy.
Man, so to the Browns' credit, the referees did screw the Browns. I mean, there was countless situations. I mean, there's no way you can't call what Myles Garrett did to Derek Carr a strip sack that was getting ready to be taken back for a fumble recovery to the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on. I mean, for those referees to blow that play dead was the most insane thing that I had seen. And then shortly thereafter that, there's a situation where initially they called that a first down on the 4th and 1 when Carlos Hyde gets the ball.
I actually watched that this morning.
It's like, come on, man. What are you seeing? What are you seeing that we're not seeing at home? And you better give us a viewpoint.
Can I ask you this, Beanie? Can I ask you this?
What?
Do you think Carlos got a first down?
I do.
Okay.
I absolutely. You don't think he got a first down?
Well, I watched it this morning, and maybe I've seen some bad views, but if they're going off the wrist, I seen the wrist kind of touch, but I'm not sure. The yellow line's not always right at the same time. So, everybody's saying he got the first down, so I'm gonna go with it with what everybody else is saying. But from what I've seen, with the line and with the wrist, it seemed like he was short.
Go what you're saying.
It seemed like he was short, but hey,
I mean, I got you, but
then you talk about these refs, Beans. I mean, if you watch the NFL the last couple of games, the game has totally turned around, man. I mean, these calls are getting ridiculous. I mean, the roughing the passer calls. I mean, it's just like these refs. The officiating has changed totally.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Do you agree?
Yeah, heck yeah. I mean, it's been terrible. I mean, when you look at how we're obviously judging guys in the way that they bring down a quarterback. I get that they're trying to make the game safer, but you're compromising the entire game, the integrity of a game.
You're causing teams games. I tell you that.
I mean, we already watched it happen. The Green Bay Packers.
The Green Bay Packers.
To tie.
Oh my
goodness. They had to tie a game because of the flag that they threw on Clay Matthews. So the officiating is terrible. And I've always been of the belief that there's too much money at risk for these games to not have clear-cut outcomes and for penalties to be called on plays in which they probably shouldn't be.
To determine the game at that. It's tough. I mean, Green Bay has had a few close games where they even went overtime, and just off one hit can change the game. Because, a roughing pass could be 15 yards. 15 yards is a big deal in the NFL. Even in college, I mean, you get 15 yards, that could determine, okay, are we in field goal range or are we not? That could change if, okay, we're going to be kicking a game-winning field goal. I mean, that's big time right there, man.
Yeah, man, it's ridiculous. Obviously, they got to get something squared away. And I don't know if that it happens, right now in the middle of the year, but they got to be a little bit more lenient in how they're calling those plays. But I mean, you said something that kind of perked my interest a little bit, and I got to get back to it. Hugh Jackson.
Oh man,
you're not a big fan of Hugh Jackson.
Not really. No.
Why? What's the deal with Hugh that whatever transpired that makes you not a big fan, or was there anything at all? You just not feeling his vibe?
I think he's a guy that he chooses players. He has his guys, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know how?
I mean, they all do.
Yeah, they all do. But when we were in Cincy, obviously, you guys know I got drafted to Cincinnati. He was the running back coach. I was there for my rookie year. Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, obviously, great guy, great teammate. He was the guy. We had a couple other guys. That were some good running backs, but I felt like I should have more opportunity. Maybe I'm being biased,
right.
But as a competitor, I felt like when I was there, he didn't give me a fair shot at times. So that makes me not like him like that.
No, I get it. You're going to be more inclined to like somebody who gives you an opportunity.
Exactly.
I mean,
Now if he would have been like, give me all the opportunities in the world, then I'll probably be a true Browns fan right now. Saying Hugh Jackson, man, he's a great coach. He's doing this, he's doing that. It's the player's fault. It's not his fault. Just saying whatever. But we had some situations I feel like that could have played out a little better. Kind of like the Clemson situation with the quarterbacks. We had some rookies get drafted that year. It was my second year still,
right.
But I felt like it could have played out a little different, but it didn't. So that's how I feel about you,
man. I get it. I understand that, man. I had a similar situation in Arizona. Ken Wisenhunt was the head coach, and initially when I got there, I liked Ken. I mean, Wiz was an okay coach.
Mm-hmm.
As time went on and we started doing worse and worse,
mm-hmm.
Coaches start noticing and paying attention to so much more than they were when you were winning. When
mm-hmm.
I got there, we had Kurt Warner as our quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
We went to win the playoffs, made it the second round, and losing. The year before that, they went to the Super Bowl and lost.
Mm-hmm.
So times were good.
Mm-hmm.
In Arizona, times were fine and dandy. Everything was, peaches and cream going on there. And as we started losing, we lose Kurt Warner. The next year we go 5-11. The next year we go.
We got to make some changes.
The next year I think we win like maybe a 5-11 season again. Then you start noticing a different Ken Wisenhunt.
Mm-hmm.
Wiz started worrying about some of the most ridiculous things in the world. I remember the time.
Some of those things, man.
I am. I'm into it. I remember a time when Joey Porter comes into a meeting room. You know how people come into meetings. It's a meeting.
Oh, yeah.
A team meeting.
Yeah.
He comes into a meeting room with a tank top and a do-rag on, and Ken Wisenhunt flips the hell out.
Okay.
And I'm like, this is how it normally comes.
Was he late?
No, he wasn't. He was on time, but he saw him with a tank top on and a do-rag on.
Oh, wow.
And he started worrying about shit like that. And that's when you started to see a little bit of a difference. That's when you start to see that, oh, man, he's under a little pressure right there. He better
on
start
a hot seat.
Exactly.
On a hot seat.
So you notice that. You notice that coaches change depending on if they're winning or not and whatever position they're in.
Yeah.
If it's a head coach and they're not winning,
mm-hmm.
I mean, you're going to start to notice some things. And that's something that I don't necessarily agree with. Obviously, I understand that people have to adapt different to pressure situations. But I hate somebody that's a flip-flop. Be who you are.
Exactly.
If you a cool coach, be that cool coach all the time.
Exactly.
Just know that, all right, man, we got to pick shit up and we got to get this thing moving in the right direction. I don't need you to all of a sudden switch it up on me. And that's the thing that I see a lot of the times in the NFL. You got coaches that will switch up how they are and who they are based on the situation at hand. And I don't necessarily agree with that. And I know players don't agree with it because we want somebody who's going to be the same all the time.
And you
know
never
what
get
you're
that.
going exactly. You know what you're going to get. And that's such a rarity at that level, man. And I don't appreciate that at all.
Hey, I agree with you, brother. I agree with you, man. I mean, the coaches are going to change. They're going to change up on you, It's just how it is, man. That's the world of the NFL, man, and it's not fair, but it is what it is. That's why I say, hey, get your money while you can, man, because the coaches, hey, get your money while you can, because hey, they will switch up on you. Hey, 1 minute you could be balling, starting, you be the man.
Straight up.
Hey, say you get hurt. You twist an ankle or something, and a guy that you know ain't better than you, that you know can't produce like you, they're going to get the other guy the opportunity, and then you got to go somewhere else, either getting cut or getting traded. And it's just crazy how things work.
Man, it's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
And that leads me to talking about, a situation that we just saw with Earl Thomas. Earl Thomas, all-pro safety. Probably one of those guys that may very well end up in the Hall of Fame. I don't know. He's probably going to be a borderline guy. He'll certainly end up in the Seattle Seahawks Ring of Honor and their team Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
We watched a situation with him where he didn't want to come to training camp, stayed away all offseason, end up coming to, I think, maybe the last couple of days of training camp, getting there in time for the season, and coming back and playing.
And against,
it was balling. What do you have, 2 or 3 interceptions versus the Dallas Cowboys?
Come on, man.
But against his principles of, you know what, they're not paying me, so I don't want to be here. And what happens this past week? Guy goes out and breaks his leg, and now he's damned if he do, damned if he don't. Now, not we're going to talk about the Le'Veon Bell situation as well, but this is one of those things that I see in the league. And we were talking about a little bit earlier when we were saying that how fans and how people from the outside look in on the league, they're downing guys for not being a part of off-season workouts. They're downing and talking about guys for not being, team-first guys and worrying about everybody else and their success versus their own.
Yeah.
Because now Earl Thomas, he's going to be probably never playing in a Seattle Seahawks jersey again, and now he's succumbed to the pressure of everybody else because he was worried about, what were people thinking of him? What were his teammates going to think of him? And he wanted to be that team guy and come back and play when he probably should have did what Le'Veon Bell did and said, no, the hell with you guys. I'm sitting out until you pay me.
So let me ask you this, Beanie. So if you were in Earl's situation, would you have kept on sitting out, or would you have came and played like he did?
I mean, Earl Thomas is in a situation that a lot of guys
let me go back
aren't
to
in. No, but he's in a situation that a lot of guys are in. He got paid twice already. You remember Earl Thomas was like a top 10 pick, and then he signed another massive contract. So when you really break it down, Earl Thomas could have afforded.
So you think he's being selfish?
No, not at all.
All right.
I mean, you got a limited amount of time to make the most money that you can. If you have a great career,
that's what I'm saying.
A great career. That's 10 years.
Yeah,
that's 10 years out of your life. I mean, you still got a whole lot of living to do. So you better maximize that 10-year span and get as the most money as you possibly can. So no, he wasn't being selfish.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is he had enough money to where he could have said, you know what, I'm chilling.
Yeah,
I ain't coming in until y'all start writing these checks a little bit higher,
right,
and a little bit closer to my wishes.
And me personally, if I'm a guy like Earl, I'm sitting out. That's just me personally. I mean, if they don't want to pay me my top dollar that I deserve, I gotta sit out. Just like Le'Veon's doing right now. I mean, you got guys getting paid who are not producing as much as these guys. I mean, Earl comes back. He doesn't. I mean, come on, Beans. The guy wasn't at training camp the whole year.
Right.
He wasn't. I think honestly, you said he came back a couple weeks before. I think he came back the week
you might be right.
The week of, and the way that he produced in that first game that he played in, I would have wrote him a check after the game. Like, look, man, we see you. Hey, you've been doing something right. You've been doing something right for the time that you've been off. You come in here, you know the playbook. You making plays. We beat the Dallas Cowboys, a team that actually wanted to try to trade for you. So we're gonna pay you because it's something you're doing right, and you're helping our team to be a better team.
I mean, we seen it just last season. Aaron Donald set out the entire training camp
and won what, Beans?
Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh my goodness!
Khalil Mack set out the entire training camp
and did what, Beans?
He's probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year this year.
But listen, to take from that. Not everybody can do that.
Right, exactly.
You have a couple elite guys that could sit out a whole training camp, a whole, off season and come in and dominate. Not everybody is like that, Beanie. And you know that. You have some guys that have to come to training camp because they're not doing nothing during the off season. They're not working out. They're not doing this and that. But you have those elite guys like a Earl Thomas, like a Khalil Mack, like a Le'Veon Bell. I mean, I know a lot of people, they're upset. Le'Veon Bell, yes, he has missed some games. Yes, he has had injuries and things like that. But when it's come to it, he puts on a show, and he helps that team win. So,
I mean, the name of the game is get your dollar. I mean, people sit here and talk about the love of the game all day long.
Man, listen,
there would not be 103 people playing at Ohio State. There would not be people playing all across the country. All these little league programs, they wouldn't be built up if it wasn't that rainbow at the end with the pot of gold. They wouldn't do it.
That dollar sign.
I mean, exactly, that dollar sign. That's what you're playing for. Yeah, people probably do love the game. You learn to love what you're doing.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. But boom, they're playing because
this is a livelihood.
Exactly.
Well.
I got an opportunity to go out and change my life and my family's life forever.
Yeah.
By making it to the NFL or NBA or whatever professional sport it is. You're not gonna be a doctor.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take that back. Some people will be a doctor because they love helping people. But I know a lot of people that are probably doctors because obviously you can help people and you can make a whole lot of money. So I mean, that's just the reality of this situation when we're talking about sports, and especially the NFL. The name of the game is to get your bread.
Yeah,
I mean,
for real.
To minimize your exposure.
NFL, what does it stand for?
Not for long. I mean,
you get a couple of lucky guys that get to the second contract. I mean, most guys do not get to the second contract, and to get to your second contract is a blessing for any guy, because when it comes to injuries, just all the different things that go on coming with the game, man, it's just a blessing to get to the second contract. That was always my dream, Beanie. Both of us, had kind of short careers, obviously,
right.
Injuries and other different things, but especially as a running back. That's why to piggyback back on Le'Veon Bell's situation, man. At running back, man, you taking a 1,000 hits, man. You're taking a beating, so you have to get your top dollar when you can get it. So why? I mean, his situation is a little different than Earl's. And Earl is a safety he's coming up and making the tackles.
Right.
We're actually taking the beating. So
every play,
and even the plays that we're not getting the ball, we got to block, we got to chip. Just think about it like this. I was telling somebody, we were watching the Colts and the Texans play. Having to chip J.J. Watt, every time that we pass the ball, that and every time I come out the huddle, I got to find out where J.J. Watt is when we pass the ball, because we got to get to him, because he's that type of threat that can make a play. I mean, make a big play.
Exactly. I mean, and those are the things that people don't really take into consideration when you're judging a Le'Veon Bell for holding out. I mean, the amount of exposure he's at. I mean, the guy's had 400 touches the past couple of years, back-to-back seasons. I mean, I don't blame him for sitting out or wanting to sit out half the year and coming back and saying, you know what, I'm going to still get this $7 to $8 million, and then I'm going to hit free agency, and I'm going to cut my touches in half because I know how much this Pittsburgh Steelers team is going to try to utilize me.
Exactly. I mean, nobody has walked that man's shoes. Nobody knows what he's going through, on a daily basis, the stress, the everything, man. I mean, you know how it is, being playing running back, especially for the Steelers, who's an organization that does pretty well mostly every year. And then you just sit back and look at the difference between the Steelers now and the last couple years, and they have a losing record right now.
Right.
They have a losing record right now, and it makes you think like, well, I wonder if the owners are thinking like, well, maybe we should have pay Le'Veon Bell. Maybe our record would be different. And it's not just on the field things, Beanie. As you know, a certain guy in a locker room can change a lot of different things. It could change the way guys think. It could change a lot because
change the way guys work. Look at James Harrison for
exactly.
He made guys work harder.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like if you're at war and you're sitting next to a guy and you got to look over to him. If it's not that guy that you're expecting to be there, you're gonna have some doubt in the back of your head. But if you got your guy Le'Veon Bell, you be like, all right, I know when we run this play, he gonna make this happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it plays a bigger part than just him being on the field and making plays.
I mean, we could go on and on about this situation in
all
NFL,
day.
But I want to kick it to another topic, man. And I mean, how was the transition out of football for you? Was it difficult? Was it easy? Was it seamless? Or did you face those pitfalls? And then another question I want to throw in there with that. I mean, what was the situation like when you got? No, answer that one first, because I'm going to ask you the other one later on. So how was that transition out of the league for you? Was it tough?
What I'm going through right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, when you've been playing football all your life, I've been playing since I was 6 years old.
Right.
So when you've been playing football all your life through high school, through college, most of the time, Beans, a lot of times you don't have that time to see the real world, to get a job, to do a lot of things that normal people can do to set themselves up for life. We say life after football is because it's like, most of us, we haven't seen the real world because we're so focused on being a great football player or even, staying on a team. Just to make it on a team and stay on a team can be so stressful, so demanding, so just a big headache because, every day, every Tuesday, they got a whole group of guys coming in to take your job.
Ain't no question.
To take your job. And, everybody's looking around for that reaper. And Beans, every team has that guy that's coming around on Monday or Tuesday, and they coming to get a guy because they found somebody that either they feel is better than you or that can help this team win better. And it's just a hard time.
Yeah, but so I mean, obviously, we know your situation. You bounce around to a couple of teams. I know your situation. A lot of people don't. You bounce around to a couple of teams. You get an opportunity there in Buffalo, and that was kind of the last.
2016, my last training camp.
Yeah, the last training camp, your last stop for you. I mean, so what's it been like from that point? Obviously, you get into the situation with Hadley's, the restaurant here in Columbus, and in the trucking. But I mean, what kind of led you to some of those things, and how tough is it? Obviously, maneuvering in this business world with no business acumen. I mean, essentially, because I mean, you've been so geared towards a one-track mind, which a lot of athletes are, because we're taught that we can't lose focus. We can't think about anything outside of this tunnel in which we're in in order for us to be successful. So, I mean, what has it been like for you thus far?
Honestly, it's still kind of fresh. Obviously, it takes time to figure out what you want to do. And honestly, I'm doing as much as I can right now to figure it out, but it's still all new. And it's been a kind of tough transition for me, honestly. I mean, just keeping it real, that's what we do, keep it real on here. So, kind of getting into the restaurant thing, that was just kind of like an opportunity that came at the time when I had just got done playing. I wanted to invest my money. Obviously, Beans, guys make a lot of money while they're playing. I had some money laying around, and I wanted to invest where I'll be able to make some money.
Right.
And that's how I kind of I met, a couple good people around here at Ohio State, had some connections, met with some people, and, I just went to my connections as far as, what is it I could do to, make my money grow. Obviously that's the main goal is when you're making money, you want to make more money. So I got into the, the restaurant business, the bar business, and then the trucking, and I'm taking off with it right now. It's just one of those things where learning the business side of the whole, trucking industry, the restaurant, so bouncing around from Warren to Columbus and trying to keep up with both. It's been tough, man. But I think playing the sport of football has helped me out because hard times come and you just got to stay on the grind, man. And I just take it one day at a time. I try not to get too stressful about it, but that's what comes with it. The real world, as they call it.
Man, that shit is stressful.
You're right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I say it's tough. It's hard.
Maneuver around. I'm in the trucking business. I've been in the restaurant. I've been in just about every type of business you can possibly think of.
Right.
And
I never said it was easy, man. I said it was hard.
But you were trying to just land it on soft. I'm landing on. This shit is hard. I mean, any business in which you're dealing with people, and you're not gonna be the sole reason as to why that business succeeds or fails, it's going to be hard because you're dealing with people. You're dealing with their personalities. You're dealing with their issues.
And they've been doing this, and we
not even if they've been doing it. I mean, just in business in general, you got to deal with everything that somebody else is bringing to the table. It's just like being in a relationship almost. Yeah. You got to deal with all the extra baggage that woman that you're with is bringing to the table. Same with business. I mean, you hire an employee, you got to deal with everything that goes on in his personal life. And if he's a good enough employee, then you kind of, you weigh the pros and cons, and sometimes you deal with it. But if not, I mean, you fire him and say you got to go. But a lot of times, especially in the trucking business, I mean, like I know, you got to deal with those drivers and all their issues. And some of
drivers
them
and breakdowns.
Exactly.
Drivers and breakdowns. I mean, if anybody know about the trucking industry, the hardest thing in the industry right now is finding great drivers, good drivers, and a lot of guys don't want to work, the trucking industry, what I'm in, I'm moving pipe and steel and coils. You know, so not a lot of guys want to be on the road, you know, through a whole week. You know, guys want to be home every night, which is I understand. You want to be home every night because they have families, they got a wife. I understand that. But at the same time, if you want to make top dollar and you want to take care of your family, you got to be on the road. And a lot of guys don't want to do that, and which is I understand, but that's why I say it's not for everybody.
Yeah, no, man, I agree 100%. It certainly isn't. And just, you know, for me, I mean, when I asked myself, was the transition hard? I think the hardest thing for me was kind of getting out of the routine in which I had been doing for the past 20 years, essentially. I mean, I knew certain times of the year I had to be training. I knew certain times of the year, you know, it was going to be football season. I had to be in meetings. I had to do so on and so forth. Your life becomes a routine geared around football.
Exactly.
And so for me, breaking that routine was a little bit difficult. And you know, breaking it wasn't difficult. Obviously, adjusting to not having it was a little bit difficult. And you had all this free time on your hands. And I'm one of those guys. I'm a hustler. I try to figure out something that I can get involved in, something that I can do to kind of create.
Something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm not just sitting around with dead time.
Exactly.
And I think when, you know, I got to a point to where, you know, I think I had almost exhausted everything that I wanted to do and everything that I had an interest in trying. That's when the dead time started to come about, and I started to, you know, really reflect on like, damn, man, what's what direction am I going in with my life? And I mean, I think a lot of athletes have that, and I think you can tie it in kind of, you know, with mental health essentially. I mean, we see all the time athletes go haywire, get depressed. We're watching a situation right before us right now with Everson Griffin. I mean, the defensive end for the Minnesota Vikings. He all of a sudden, his wife is saying he's acting weird. He goes to the hotel, tells everybody at the hotel, I'm going to shoot you. And now the Minnesota Vikings saying, you know what, we want this guy to get help. You deal with stuff like that when you really step away from a game in which you've been a part of for so long and really try to reflect. And I mean, this is a guy dealing with it while he's still playing. I mean, imagine the guys and the individuals dealing with it when they're not playing and they don't have the resources in which Everson Griffin has right now at his disposal because he is a current athlete. I mean, so many guys, countless guys that I talk to on a regular basis deal with depression. They're lost. They still have this mind that, you know what, I'm still going to play football.
Gonna make it.
When you know it's 5, 6, 7 years since you played your last down, you're still saying I'm going to play football. We know guys like that all the time.
Man, still training hard, still waking up at 6 a.m.
Thinking that they're going to get that phone call and they're going to get another opportunity when everybody else knows it's long gone.
And you know what? That builds all types of problems up top, man.
No question about it.
All types of problems up top. Because if you don't have a game plan, if you don't have a plan B in life, man, and you're a football player, you're going to struggle big time. And
not just a football player, any athlete.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
When you let something consume your entire life and that's all you're about, and you don't kind of step outside the box.
Right. Yeah. That's why it's one thing I do like, not to get off subject, but I do like about Ohio State and Urban. They have those, you know, a lot of different things.
Real life Wednesdays or something like that.
Exactly. I really like that, and I really wish we had something like that when we were in school, you know, just to have different opportunities, see different things. I think that's real cool. But for the guys in the league, or, you know, like you said, you know, basketball, football, baseball, whatever sport, man, one thing I would say, man, guys have to do is speak out. You know, you get a lot of guys who they're going through depression, anxiety, all types of different things, and they're letting it all build up and build up and build up, and then that one day they kind of just explode. Which is that could be what's going on with the Griffin guy. I mean,
and then you had the situation in Kansas City. This is back when I was playing.
Oh man,
the guy I can't think of his name. The linebacker. Yeah. He kills his
wife,
girlfriend at home,
then drives to the facility
and kills himself. I mean, you talk about the pressures of sports. I mean, I mean, who knows what guys are going through it. And
and then you get fans that come on your social media and talking crazy, and man, it's just that's why I say you can't judge an athlete, you know, until you walk. Yeah, anybody, because it's not just athletes that's going through the everyday, but we've been in the shoes, so that's why we could, you know, kind of speak on it and say what we think. So. Yeah, it's sad, but man, definitely speak out, man. You know, if you need help, get help, man, because you know you only have one life, man. And so, you know, do what you got to do to make sure that you protect yourself.
Well, boom, man. We've been going an hour, and obviously this is our first one, as you can see.
We can go all day.
We can go all day about a bunch of different topics, and we will. And I got so much more that I want to talk about, from the family issues, dealing with money,
Yeah.
to keeping up with the Joneses. I mean, so many other things that obviously we're going to get to as we continue this podcast on a weekly basis. We still don't have a name. We don't know if it's going to be Beanie or Boom, More Than the Game, or whatever the hell the case may be. But we know we're going to give it to y'all straight raw on a weekly basis. We're going to talk about, obviously, the Buckeyes, what's going on in the NFL, and just real-world stories and real-life stories from myself and Boom. And our plan is to have a guest on a weekly basis, somebody that's played the game, somebody that's close to the game, and just people that have kind of been in the business and kind of knows the ins and outs of what it's like to be a professional athlete, man. So, I mean, that's our take. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's wrap it up there.